when I was seeing that my friends are reading books, when I was seeing my favorite YouTubers are reading books, when I was seeing that my favorite TV actors also reading books, and I was feeling clueless that hey, why I am not reading. I used to feel like that fool who has never unlocked this idea, all the ideas that is hidden inside the book. I used to feel like a fool. But let me tell you guys, I have seen a lot of people doing great who never read any sort of fiction or non-fiction book in their life, but they're doing so well with their business, with their job, their relationships, everything, right? How they do it. So in this episode of the ImpleBooks podcast, I will share you 3 alternative ways of reading books. So let's get started. Once I saw a session from Sandeep Maheshwari, and in that session, Sandeep Maheshwari says that अगर आप खुद को जान गए तो सब कुछ जान गए. That means if you know everything, that if you know yourself. And the best way to know yourself is through our number 1 point, it is journaling. See guys, every morning I do journal. What I basically do is that I take out my notebook, I start asking with the questions, how is my mood? So I write it down that hey, that's my mood is. Then I ask follow-up questions that why my mood is like this. Even if I am happy, I'm asking this like why I'm happy. And if I can answer that, I keep asking follow-up questions, and I almost do this for 10-15 minutes every day. And what this actually does is that this way we come to know of our emotions when we are feeling something because of what we are feeling. Sometimes you may feel that you have no control over your emotions or no control over the situation, and that's obvious. Sometimes you really don't have any control over the situations or the things that is going on in your life. But how you will deal with these problems, you can only understand if you know yourself better. And that's why he says that you know everything if you know yourself. See guys, I am also starting to understand that what I am feeling at what certain situations, and a lot of people feel that cluelessness that what we will do with our life, and that's obvious. You can find out each and every questions, burning desires that you have through journaling. So if you are not journaling, I highly recommend you to start with almost at least 5 to 10 minutes of journaling. If you're not into reading books, obviously start with journaling. It's a brilliant idea of the alternative of reading books. And the number 2 point is podcast. Those podcasts who basically consist of interviews. Now I'm not going to tell you like hey, listen to that interview, this interview where Naval Ravikant came and so on and so forth. I'm not going to tell you this. There must be something that you like in your life. Maybe it's a football, maybe you like to play video games, maybe you like to see TV series all day. But it doesn't really matter. There must be something that you like in your day-to-day life. Find out those persons that you like. Maybe if you like football, there are chances that you like one footballer, right? Try to find their interviews. Try to find what they are saying on the internet. So find out this kind of interviews where they are talking their heart out. You will know about themselves, and they will obviously drop in bits and pieces of their life experiences. Sometimes we see others from distance and we assume things, right? But when you actually see them talking about their life, what are the problems that they face, how they came out of it, how they become the persons they wanted to be, you will know a lot about them, because books are nothing but also the experiences of others, right? So if you can listen to good interviews, podcast interviews especially, you will learn a lot. There is a great podcast in India. It is from the Ranveer show by BR Biceps. I highly recommend this podcast as well. You don't need to listen to all the podcasts, but listen to those person which you already know or admire, right? So listen to podcasts. And the third and the last point is make meaningful relationships. Suppose you want to start a business, right? So you have a friend or group of friends who have already started business. See how useful that will be. Suppose you are in a financial crisis, okay, and you have a friend who is financially very much sorted, or maybe he came out of this kind of problems before and you saw them become a better person. How crazy that would be. Just go to that person and ask that what are the things that you can do in that situation. Maybe you want to start, buy a real estate property, right? And know people that already, buy and sell this kind of stuff. See how cool that will be. So that's why relationships are the best things that you can do, right? So if you have great relationships in place, a lot of problems in your life, I won't say they will be fade away, but it will be easier for you to deal with, right? Suppose you have a friend who is good with making relationships also, right? He also dealt with breakups. Now, if you are going through this kind of phase, you can ask him that how he actually cope up with this kind of stuff. That is the superpower, guys. Having meaningful relationships in your life is going to tremendously help you in your life's problems or your success. So create meaningful relationships. Now let me tell you guys, even if you're listening to podcast and making meaningful relationships and journaling, and the honest thing that I can tell you this is nothing can replace books. So if you're not into reading books, I highly recommend you to start with at least 5 minutes or at least 1 pages a day, because see, books can give you a lot of experiences in very short amount of time, and it is impossible to get from other sources. So I'll highly recommend that you read books. This is just an alternative if you are in a reading slump, or you don't feel like reading books and you want to take a break. You can try these alternate activities. Otherwise, there is no alternative to reading books. So that's it for today's podcast. If you like this podcast, don't forget to give 5 stars from whatever app you're listening to, and don't forget to subscribe as well. We are ImpleBooks at Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. That's it for today. Have a good day.